To the league, December 12th, 2025. It's cold out there, and you just joined 5 minutes of the best information in the clean tech sector. You give us 5 minutes, we'll give you the entire industry. David Magid here, Benoit Danjan, aka the Solar Maverick. Topic that I'm going to be discussing today is a trend that we're seeing. We got word Engie is putting their DG platform up for sale. This is right after RWE had announced and engaged JP Morgan for this sale of their DG platform. EDF is now actually considering selling the renewable energy unit as well. And we've seen this in the past. We saw this a few months ago. You may recall at RE Plus when we saw the Next Era folks sell their DG platform years back in the Duke Energy. So this is a trend that we're starting to see, true consolidation as the market's starting to change. Interesting part about some of these platforms that are being sold is these are groups that are really looking at recycling cash flows and looking at maneuvering their funds and their businesses in other places. So every time we see lots of platforms being sold, rings in my bells. Lots of opportunities are there for buyers in the market who are looking to acquire these beautiful platforms that have been built with all the amazing assets that have originated over the years. And that's that.
David, that's really interesting. I appreciate you sharing. It's interesting seeing all the consolidation that's happening so quickly. Um, I have two very interesting topics as well. Something as developers, David and I know, but I thought it was interesting to see this actually in print. Land is now becoming a bottleneck for solar development. In fact, a recent report from Paces, which Dave and I are very familiar with their great platform, they're based in Brooklyn, found a 22% drop in suitable land for solar development across 12 states. Land is quickly becoming the new interconnection queue. Obviously, we've talked about like the challenges related to interconnection, permitting, um, what's the sort of how developers would get these land sites is they would basically provide like a land lease option with a minimal upfront payment and closing only when projects were close to construction. In many high demand regions, this doesn't work anymore. Landowners want earlier commitments, higher deposit, and firmer purchase or lease terms. Costs are rising, timelines are compressing, and developers are competing for the same sites. I think we're really seeing that too in New York, especially when you talk about community solar in National Grid. At the same time, like local opposition is increasing. Uh, solar moratoriums, which is actually we've seen a lot in New York State because we've done a lot in New York, expanded setbacks, zoning changes, and slowing projects even before they reach interconnection, especially when you talk about large projects like utility scale and community solar, where CNI, you usually don't have these issues. The takeaway is land is now a strategic and financial asset. Developers who could secure land early, understand local politics, and build those relationships and think creatively, like obviously brownfields, agrivoltaics, dual use sites, will have a major edge going forward. The second topic that I would like to talk about is we've talked about the challenges related to permitting in the past. The federal permitting freeze is an issue that's flying under the radar although there's been so much talk about permitting reform, it's still very challenging on solar and wind projects on federal lands are effectively right now being stalled. Environmental reviews are taking longer, agencies are backlogged, shifting policy priorities are pushing approval out for months, in some cases years. Now, we're seeing permitting almost like interconnection timelines as one of the biggest risks in project development. And as we all know, capital doesn't like uncertainty. When developers can't clearly predict when a project will receive permits or be at certain stages, financing becomes very expensive or disappears altogether. Solar, as I've said many times, is the fastest to build energy resource that we have right now, but it's been slowed down by the permitting system that hasn't kept in pace with the urgency of the deployment of grid needs. Hopefully, like this will be addressed when we talk about clean energy growth heading into 2006, with even stronger demand for energy and declining technology costs because solar is not a fuel, it's a technology, and the cost continues to go down even though we've seen so much increase in tariffs over time. Thanks for your time. You've enjoyed 5 minutes of the best information on the energy industry. Promote, like, 5 stars, and become a subscriber. Thank you.